Good evening, everybody. Could y'all turn to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 9. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 9. So I remember when I was a lot smaller and a lot younger, I would play behind this church in the grass out there, and there'd be a ton of anthills. And it was with a bunch of the youth that were around my age at that time, that we would do what any other 6-year-old or 7-year-old does when they see an anthill. They destroy it. They leave almost nothing standing, and all that's left is all these ants scurrying to pick up the pieces. Right. Hold on, let's read Proverbs chapter 6 real quick. Sorry. Chapter 6, verse 6 through 9. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? So the ants, whenever I would kick over the hill, you would leave, come back, and they wouldn't be standing there with union workers complaining about the new work they had to do. They also wouldn't be sipping gin and juice saying, well, that kid, he kicks it over every Sunday, he kicks it over on Wednesday. There's no point of rebuilding it once again if he's just going to kick it right back over, right? So you can wipe away that whole anthill, and maybe a few weeks go by or maybe a few days go by. I don't know how quick they rebuild it, but at some point it will be rebuilt, right? So this verse right here, and it's almost insulting. It's saying, you sluggard, right? It's trying to grab your attention. It's saying, observe the ant. Observe this tiny little creature that you pass by. Observe it and gather wisdom. So what can we gather from the ant? They don't take breaks. They don't quit. They don't complain. They're disciplined. They have a goal and they finish it. Right? They're also self-governing and they're disciplined. So why is this so serious? If it wasn't serious, it wouldn't insult you, right? And how does it affect our work for the kingdom? We often look at laziness in the Bible at a material glance, right? We know that if we're lazy, then we'll potentially lose our job. Or we know that if we're lazy, we'll fall into poverty potentially. We also know that for a fact that our coworkers aren't going to like us. And just overall, you can't develop yourself physically, mentally, or monetarily if you're lazy. But we don't often look at laziness from a spiritual standpoint when we look at these verses. Whenever this was taught to me, it was always taught from a work hard physically, like with your body, right? Which absolutely that's what this verse is talking about. But I think that it has a lot of value spiritually as well. Jeremiah 29, verse 13 says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. So, another quick, back in the past when I was a kid, I would play hide and go seek. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but basically one person goes hiding or multiple people go hiding, and there's usually one seeker, right? I don't know if this has happened to a lot of you, but sometimes the seeker forgets that you're hiding, and they forget about you entirely. Or let's just say they didn't have the energy to come find you, right? So what happens when you're hiding or you have a lazy seeker? You don't necessarily want to be found anymore, or you don't want to play with that person anymore. In the same way, if we are lazy in how we seek out our relationship with God, we can't grow closer to Him properly. He doesn't hide His knowledge, but He wants you to seek it out. He loves the hunt. Jesus sits on the corner of your bed every morning just waiting for you to wake up. And He's so excited just to get to spend some time with you. And that doesn't change with age. Sometimes we can find ourselves lazy with our relationship with Christ. So I'm sure that our church wouldn't tolerate drunkenness if someone was to come in here drunk. Probably Ricardo would have to escort somebody out. And I would assume that also most churches wouldn't as well. But if the Bible is saying that laziness is evil, then how can we tolerate spiritual laziness as well? Genesis 2:15 the Lord took the man, Adam, and put him in the Garden of Eden to work for it and to take care of it. Similar to how the ants aren't just going to sit back, God put Adam in the garden to work it. He didn't just want him to eat fruits all day, right? God gave the promised land to the children of Israel, but they were expected to work the land, to plant the crops, and to reap the harvest. God wasn't going to do it for them. He wasn't going to do it for them. God has given us the ability to work and the responsibility to work, especially when it comes to developing his kingdom and to glorifying him. Turn to James 4, please, verse 13 through 17. So, why is laziness a sin? Right? And James chapter 4, verse 13 through 17 says, "Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this city or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them." So you may be wondering how that connects to laziness, right? Well, laziness is the act of I can do it later. And sometimes it's the act of having someone else do it for you, but it's when it comes to work you need to get done, you're going to do it later, right? You always assume that you have more time to spread the word or to glorify God, right? Well, here's a hard truth. God doesn't owe tomorrow to you, right? He doesn't owe anyone anything. Being a lazy person, as God is saying, as the word insults you when he's telling you this, it's a sin against God. It's something that Jesus died for, right? He didn't create you to sit around and do nothing. And he didn't create you to sit around and do nothing for his kingdom. He didn't create you to wait around for tomorrow. And as that verse clearly states, tomorrow isn't promised to us. And God is calling for you to work diligently for his kingdom and to also work diligently on your relationship with him. So, how much longer do you have to plant that seed in your life? How many more chances will you get to talk with Christ? How much longer are you going to wait for tomorrow? When will you forgive that one person? How many more chances do you have to glorify God? How much longer do you have to have a hand in building his kingdom? If this message has impacted you in any way, or if you're feeling that you're struggling to build your relationship with God, please come forward as we stand and sing.
860.